Hello guys, today I'm going to be doing a review on the Jinhao 886 fountain pen. This pen is quite nice for its price. It actually cost me relatively about $2 to $3 on eBay. I couldn't really go wrong with that. I got the black version. It's a lacquered sort of type of plastic with a stainless steel cap band and a stainless steel clip, which actually is pretty solid. This pen is relatively light due to its plastic construction, but it does feel very sturdy. This pen is different than a lot of fountain pens I normally deal with. I usually deal with pull cap fountain pens. This pen is a twist cap fountain pen, which makes an airtight seal around the pen cap, which is very nice. You can see the lettering here, Jinhao 886 fountain pen. If you want to check that out on eBay, you can. As you can see here, it has threading, and the threading is also inside the cap, so it's a twist cap fountain pen. This pen takes cartridges or cartridge converters, which is very nice. It uses standard international size cartridge converters, and it came with this nice one, which is pretty cool because it holds a lot of ink. It has a stainless steel nib. The nib is fixed to the pen though. As you can see here, it's a Jinhao type of nib. Unfortunately with this pen, since it is a twist cap, I am not able to post the pen at all, though it is still a pretty good pen. Let's do a writing sample and we'll talk about the smoothness, durability, and cost, etc. The smoothness of the nib. It has a little feedback. I'm not really a big fan of completely stainless steel nibs. If there is any gold plating on them, I like that a little better because it gives some smoothness. The smoothness on this pen isn't great. The nib is quite sturdy and non-bendable. It's pretty solid. I'd rate the smoothness at about a 7 out of 10 based on that. I'll talk about the cost of the pen. The cost of this pen was relatively cheap, $2 to $3. I couldn't go wrong with it. I actually wanted to pick this pen up for a while. I've dealt with a lot of Jinhao pens. Jinhao pens were actually the first fountain pens I've collected with my own money. And so I sort of have a liking to Jinhao's because it got me into the fountain pen business. Well, the business of reviewing fountain pens and being a fountain pen connoisseur. So I really appreciate Jinhao's. This pen, I'll talk about the ink capacity. The ink capacity of this pen is actually on the high moderate side. I'll say a decent amount, maybe a lot actually, a lot. It has the cartridge is just a little bit longer than a standard international long cartridge. So it holds quite a bit of ink in here, and it lasts me through several classes at school, or when I want to write some journaling, which I usually do. This pen makes a good daily writer. There is some leakage in some places, especially when you're refilling the pen or you're untwisting the cap, which is a problem, but I'll talk about the durability now. I've used this pen for a while, and I haven't really hurt it much, so it is pretty solid. There's not really very many visible scratches on the pen, as you can see here. I'll have to rate the durability at about an 8 out of 10. It's still plastic, but it is a very hard plastic, should I say. This pen makes a good pen if you're just getting into fountain pens, because it's really cheap, and it's quite reliable. This pen has gotten me through a lot of essays, actually. This pen writes pretty smooth. It has that smooth characteristics. It has appealing characteristics, too. As you can see, it has this glossed black finish here. The finish, since it's this high-quality plastic, it's not really going to fade or chip, especially if you take really good care of the pen. Now I'm going to move on to a writing sample and talk about an overall review of the pen. Here's a writing sample. Quick. Brown fox. jumps over the lazy dog. Quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It actually writes pretty well. I like it a lot. It has a pretty good, consistent line variation. I mean, not necessarily a line variation, but I mean a flow to the paper. It has a pretty good, consistent flow, because a lot of pens that I've dealt with in the past that are on the cheaper side aren't too good flow-wise, and I have to prime it. This pen has a weird system. Within this feed here, unlike a lot of Jinhaos, I sort of have to prime the feed by twisting this ink converter here. Usually with a lot of Jinhaos I use, I don't even have to do that. I just have to continuously write with the pen. Flowing issues aren't really large, so I'd say ink flow. Ink flow would have to be a 7 out of 10. This pen is a nice pen, and I definitely recommend it, especially, as I've said before, if you're getting into fountain pens, before you want to move on onto something nicer, such as a vintage Wingsung 765 fountain pen. You can check that video out. I did that, so just check that out sometime. And this is the Jinhao 886 fountain pen. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment, and be sure to check out my other videos. Thank you a lot.